forward to a wonderful conclusion to the past 4 days here. We've got a great performer, a couple of great speakers, and we hope that you finish with a little bit of extra inspiration before some of you go out and do your final clinics today. Just a couple announcements before we get started. We do have a lost and found, and there have been some things lost and some things found. So make sure you check the office if you're missing anything. I did notice even, for example, a couple credit cards back there. So please do check to make sure you're not missing anything important. Before we get going with our festivities this morning, I want to offer a final thanks to our incredibly generous sponsors. Intrado, our lead sponsor, Phillips and Lumber Liquidators. Not only did they give very generous contribution to make this event possible, but many of their staff were here as volunteers, and so we are very grateful for them. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank our local partner, the Telluride Adaptive Sports Program. You can learn more about TASP if you're interested at TellurideAdaptiveSports.org. So what I'd like to do is get us started with a little bit of musical inspiration. Some of you may have met Adrian, who's been around with us for the past 24 hours. Adrian Anantawan is known as a rising star in classical music. He has performed all over the world. He's performed for President Obama, both President Bushes. He's performed for Pope John Paul II. Truly an extraordinary young man. He was speaking with our youth clinic yesterday and had some wonderful things to say about how to embrace the no barriers mindset and live a life of purpose and meaning. So let's kick it off with Adrian. Adrian, welcome to the stage. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here this morning to share some music with you, and I'll talk a little bit afterwards, but I thought I'd start off the morning with a little bit of Paganini, which is, it's like having a lot of coffee in the morning, musically. Thank you. Thank you. Um, so thank you for bearing with that for a few minutes. But I just wanted to thank all of you for having me here. It's such an honor to be able to speak and play for all the participants here at the conference. I had a wonderful opportunity yesterday getting to know such wonderful people, both with and without disabilities, but I think that one of the biggest things that I saw here was the concentration of diversity and hence innovation, and to see that happen so quickly over the span of 4 days, and just to hop on board that train and be a part of it was a real ride. And I have to say that I accomplished one of my dreams here, where we did one of the summit hikes, and I brought my wonderful violin up, and I was able to play on top of a mountain for the first time in my life. So, so thank you for making that possible. And I think that in many ways, playing an instrument is like climbing a mountain or doing a race. You have to be so precise, and even a tiny millimeter to the right or left with your fingers can completely change the meaning of the music. But the wonderful thing about that is that you have such control over what you want to say, and hopefully through a lot of practice and discipline and structured imagination, say something extraordinarily meaningful as well. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about my adaptation and how I started to play. I was about 10 years old, and my grade 5 teacher decided to allow us to play a musical instrument, and she thought that the recorder would be the most accessible for all of us, but it wasn't for me because obviously I couldn't play it with two hands. So I had very good parents. I was lucky to have great parents who were always my advocates, and they decided that they wanted to choose the violin because it wasn't the most practical one, or else I would have played the trumpet or percussion maybe, but because it was the most beautiful sounding instrument to them. And we essentially went to a prosthetist up in Canada, and I had my little tiny case, and I was about this high, and my parents said, my son wants to play the violin, you deal with it. And luckily they did, and I have tremendous amount of gratitude and debt for those people who not only were experts in their fields, but were willing to take a leap and try something different without any intention of me being able to play Paganini in front of you today, but just to give a child a chance to be able to pursue some type of activity that has the potential to change their lives. And for me, I was very lucky. I had a perfect adaptation straight out of the gate. It's just a plaster cast aluminum piece of tubing here, and all I have to do is go back and forth, and my parents thought we'd be clear from there. Unfortunately, like anything else, these challenges, there are many things in the way musically. The instrument will fight against you, and you will sound like a dying cat for the first 5 to 10 years of your life. But the nice thing about the instrument is that all that you put into it, eventually it gives back to you, especially when you're able to share your ideas in the most profound, detailed ways with an audience, with my peers, with my teachers and friends. And it was my way of being able to connect to the world. And I think because of that, I was able to find the motivation to practice and succeed and do as much as possible, because it wasn't only about playing the violin or playing music, but it was also a way for me to connect to the world and especially to people as well. So I thought I'd just play one tiny more piece, and I will play a little bit at the end as well. So thank you for having me here. So this is what I played on top of the mountain. Just thought I'd share it with you. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adrian. 1 year ago, I got a call from Erik Weihenmayer. He said, Dave, I'm thinking of doing something big. And I thought, you've kind of done some big things in your life already. He said, I really believe in what we're trying to do in the world with no barriers, and I would like to make a big gift to you all. And a year ago, he made a pledge to raise $1 million for us over the past 12 months. And I am so proud to say, and so honored that he did this, that he has reached his goal and raised that for us as of today. And it's hard to know how to thank such an extraordinary person with such an extraordinary gift, but we did our best, and we went out in the world over the past few months and captured some of the inspiration that Erik has provided through our No Barriers programs, because with this gift, we are going to be able to grow our organization and serve many more people. And so I'd like to show the piece that we were able to prepare. Thank you.
Thanks, Erik, for showing the world to me.
It was the first exposure that I had to Erik's story was seeing his picture on Everest, and it was like on a poster in the airport. And I'd pass by it all the time, and I was thinking like, whoa, this is just so crazy that, you know, a guy with Erik's challenges could go and climb Mount Everest.
Who or what was your greatest inspiration in life? After going blind as a child, Erik Weihenmayer never dreamed he would become one of the few people on the planet Earth to scale the 7 summits. Take a look at how a bus driver's harsh words inspired Erik to reach unbelievable heights.
I used to just totally harangue the driver. You know, I don't belong here. I'm not blind. I should be on the bus with my friends. And one day, I guess he got sick of hearing me complain, and he just screeched to a halt, and he told me to get out. I thought he was going to leave me there on the road, but instead he took a basketball, and the next thing I knew, this hard basketball bounced off the side of my head. He said, Erik, you can't catch a basketball. You're blind. And I thought, well, that's harsh. And then he said, though, "This time, Eric, I want you to put your hands out. I'm going to tell you when it's coming." And I put my hands out. He threw the ball. I caught it. And he said, "Eric, stop fighting people. Let people help you. You might just learn to catch again." He doesn't have any idea how much he affected my life. It's a great example that the smallest encounters can lead to big changes.
No Barriers is really designed for everyone, despite whether they feel they're too slow, too old, too blind, too disabled. It's for really anybody who dreams big and has a sense of their life as a great adventure.
A lot of us were struggling, learning how to be independent and just having kind of self-assurance that we could be independent, but at the same time making sure that we could all work together as a team so that we could all just have an awesome time.
Some buddies and I, we got together and we were talking about this dream that we had to go climb Kilimanjaro. It just so happened that the No Barrier Summit was happening out in Colorado, so we just went out. I mean, it was amazing. Just seeing other people with so many different challenges and not just talking about overcoming them, but actually doing it. You know, living the outdoors life and be able to go out and just experience nature and just that sense of freedom that comes with it.
I think a no barriers mindset really means that you do not let fear control your life. It means that you think beyond yourself and what you believe you're capable of, and you give yourself a chance to have experiences and learn that you are capable of doing anything you really set your mind to doing.
There was a unified goal at the end of it, which was to reach that summit safely. And just like you have in the military, where everybody cared about the life of their fellow veterans. I met some great other soldiers, and their strength to jump back in the arena per se and to face their fears and to face their challenges just like I was, it was really rewarding and inspirational. Hey Eric, thank you so much for being the incredible person you are. Thank you for giving so many veterans this opportunity and the programs you've created. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reach the summit of a lifetime in 2012. And thank you for helping me to see clearly the person I am and the strengths that I have. I'm so thankful.
Eric is unique because he's so many things. He's of course a great athlete, but he's also a great artist. He's a great communicator. You can see the future when some of us can't see the future. And that's all bottled in a single person. And it expressed coherently in a single person in a lyrical, beautiful way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric, for helping with the No Barriers Boston Fund. Together we will assist those Boston bombing victims. They need our help. They want to dream big, and together we're going to make it happen. So thank you so much, Eric.
Thanks, Eric, for helping the next generation of kids.
Thank you, Eric, for helping me reach my summit. There were so many different types of people involved with different abilities and disabilities, and I think that motivated me a little bit more to actually complete the hike, because I thought if this group of people can do it, I can do it too.
So while we were hiking back, we all stopped for a minute to just rest and get some water, and so I just kind of looked up at the sky a little bit, and I could see stars for the first time in my entire life. Thank you so much, Eric, for helping me see the stars. It's really changed my life.
You know, sometimes people will tell me, like, when they go and look at me and the challenges that I've been through, that's hard to imagine. And it's so incredible to go and think about Eric being blind and living his life like he has, climbing the highest mountains in the world. He does things that just constantly get me to go and question, like, my own capabilities in my own life, and get me to go and examine, like, what am I really able to go and do once I get out of my own way. Thank you, Eric, for changing the way that the world perceives disability. and thank you for living your life without barriers.
Erik, it has been a pleasure to build this organization with you, and with your incredible gift, we are going to be able to do amazing things. I don't know, this was a surprise to Erik. Erik, would you like to say anything? You do not have to.
Just thank you.
Yeah, let me grab the mic for you here. Here you go. You want to come up? All right. Nice. All right.
Thank you. I don't want to talk for very long, except I'm definitely overwhelmed. That's a lot to live up to for a guy who washes dishes with syrup and brushes his teeth sometimes with icy hot. And thanks, Dave. Really overwhelmed. It's a really beautiful video, and I appreciate it all. But you know, it's not. It's 1,000 times bigger than just me here. That video was incredible, but it's, you know, this fills my cup. This is an energizing thing for me. It's the best thing for me, you know, in my year ahead, being a part of this community, and you know, meeting amazing people like yesterday hiking with Connor and the team yesterday. Connor is blind. It's his first time hiking, and world-class scientists like Hugh and Amanda Boxtel, who showed the exoskeleton. I realized for the first time, I'd known her for 15 years, that she's 5'7", and that's really cool. And so I just get super energized. We're on the, you know, brink of something really great with this community here, and together, you know, we're going to get bigger and better and stronger as a community. So I'm super proud to be a part of this community, and thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
So when Erik gave me that call, he said, I would like this gift to inspire others to give and to believe in this dream of no barriers. And yesterday, I had a conversation with a donor who walked up to me and said that he was so moved by what we were doing here and what we're trying to accomplish that he would like to match Erik's $1 million gift. So there is one catch that involves all of us, though. This is going to be a matching gift. So if you're not familiar with matching gifts, the way it works is for every dollar we, this community, me, my staff, is able to raise, every dollar will be matched with a dollar from the donor until we reach $1 million, and then we'll have actually raised $2 million. And so late last night, we launched a campaign called Climb Strong 2013. If you go to the Summit landing page, you'll be able to find a link to that page, and we would love for you to share it with others. Whether you can contribute $5 or $500, we'd love everyone to make a small contribution to start building that matching dollars. And of course, our staff will be working over the course of the next year and our board to help match that extraordinary gift. But we are looking forward to you as a community being a part of that Climb Strong 2013 campaign. So thank you so much. I'd like to introduce our board president, Tom Lillig. Tom.
So at this summit, we've all had some amazing experiences, and there are certainly opportunities for us to improve. And I'm going to share that with the entire staff. But one improvement that we definitely want to make is for next time's closing ceremonies, there's going to be a box of Kleenex on every chair. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a hard time keeping it all together. What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. That is the slogan of our organization. It's on every t-shirt. It's on our screens. It's something that we strive to live. And it's all about that very real, that very glorious struggle that all of us as human beings encounter. Some of our speakers have referred to that glorious struggle as a light that burns within them. I've seen that light in so many participants this week. I've seen that light burn strong in the stories of our speakers. And I've seen that very bright, very warm light illuminate the world through the work and the life of the winner of our Lifetime Achievement Award, who I will announce shortly. Our No Barriers Award for Lifetime Achievement goes to Dr. Hugh Herr. Not only has Hugh lived the no barriers spirit, not only has he lived that phrase, but he has also enabled so many others to be able to, in his words, believe again, dream big again. Hugh Herr, who heads up the Biomechatronics Research Group at the MIT Media Lab, focuses on developing physically assistive technologies that will be intimate extensions of the human body, structurally, neurologically, and dynamically. A double amputee himself, Dr. Herr holds over 80 patents related to assistive devices. In 2007, he was presented with the 13th annual Heinz Award for Technology, the Economy, and Employment. He is also the recipient of the Popular Mechanics Breakthrough Leadership Award. Along with the Providence VA Center for Restorative and Regenerative Medicine and Brown University, Dr. Herr received a $7.2 million grant from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to create biohybrid limbs to restore natural function. Herr holds a BA in physics from Millersville University in Pennsylvania, an MS in mechanical engineering from MIT, and a PhD in biophysics from Harvard University. Let's watch a short video that tells Dr. Herr's story.
Clearly, we should architect a society without discrimination, a society of inclusion.
Once again for this show, I did something I've never done before, climbed a sheer rock wall. I did it with one leg, following a guy with no legs. Who says we can't?
My name is Hugh Herr. I have a PhD in biophysics, and I direct the biomechatronics group here at the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We build robots that attach to the body to enhance physicality. I started climbing when I was 7 years old. At first it was on mossy cliffs. The hiking got steeper and steeper until it became mountain climbing. When I was 17, I went to New Hampshire with my climbing partner at the time, Jeff Batzer. And our goal was to climb Mount Washington in the winter. It was January. We got to the top of Odell's. The weather got worse as we climbed. And we made the mistake of continuing towards the summit of the mountain in what was quickly becoming whiteout conditions. Although we just went 5 minutes from the face of Huntington's, it was enough to become disoriented. After several days of effort, we got within a few miles of a roadway. Cam Bradshaw had been out snowshoeing for the day and came across human footprints and tracked them to our cave. When we arrived to the Littleton Hospital, we of course had severe hypothermia, also had severe frostbite. After months and months of effort by the medical teams, frostbite was so severe that both of my legs were amputated to below the knee. When we were taken off the mountain, we were also told that a rescuer died. He was struck by an avalanche. His name was Albert Dow. That news, combined with the knowledge that we were going to live, because we were certain we were going to die when we were on the mountain, was this strange juxtaposition of emotions. I thought it would be an insult to the memory of Albert Dow to give up, to pity myself, to stay in the wheelchair. So from all those came this enormous swell to walk again, to climb again, and perhaps to do it better than I've ever done it before. I realized in that beginning phase that prosthetic technology was rather crude. When I was giving these artificial limbs that were passive, without any computational intelligence, without any sensing, without any motor technology, I was like, really? Really? This is it? So I very quickly dedicated my life to design, to making artificial body parts better and better until they're the point where they're emulating and they're actually bionic. So today, that's the mission of my MIT research group, is to build bionic appendages that emulate normal physiological function and perhaps even extend beyond what nature intended. My approach to getting people to believe again, to dream big again. I try to help them visualize as what their life will be once they go through the rehabilitation process, once they fully heal. That's best expressed by me or someone like me walking in the door and running and jumping in front of them and just say, you'll be able to do these things again. You'll be able to do everything that you want to do. But by the way, to get there is going to be hard. But just remember, you're going to get there. I imagine a future where leg amputees could run faster than persons with biological limbs. A world where seeing impaired are no longer seeing impaired. A future world in which technology is so advanced and sophisticated that people with unusual minds and bodies would no longer be disabled. I think in the twilight years of this century, we will have a world in which disability no longer exists. With a straight face to label me as disabled. I have the condition of limb amputation, but because of great bionic technology, I'm not really disabled. That will be true later in this century across all forms of what are today disabilities.
It is my great honor to welcome to the stage and present our 2013 Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Hugh Herr. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a tremendous honor to receive this Lifetime Achievement Award. A heartfelt thank you to the board members of No Barriers for this extraordinary honor. Like all people, I do not work in isolation. Rather, I gain such tremendous support from so many people. I wish to thank, therefore, my students and colleagues that have provided inspiration over the years. Also, of course, I'd like to thank my family who's here for their love and support. You know, as I said yesterday, over half the world's population suffers from some form of cognitive, emotional, and physical disability, and because of the lack of technology, these conditions often result in disability and a poorer quality of life. Basic levels of cognitive, emotional, sensory, and motor function should be a part of our human rights. Each person in the world should have the right to live without debilitating disability, if they so choose, to live without severe depression, for example, or to see a loved one in the case of seeing impaired, or to have the freedom to walk or to dance in the case of limb paralysis. To achieve these human rights, as a society, we need to embrace the proposition that people are not disabled. A person cannot be broken, but rather our built environment, our technology, is disabled and broken. We, the people, need not accept our limitations, but can transcend disability through technological innovation. Through fundamental advances in human-machine interaction, in this century we will eliminate disability, and we will set the technological foundation for an enhanced human experience. No Barriers has made and will continue to make an important contribution to this global effort. The No Barriers premise is that barriers can be eliminated through belief. Belief in oneself, belief in others, belief in a mission, belief in an idea for an invention that will become one day a profound innovation. Our assistive technologies, our constructive ways to view our lives and our bodies, all started as beliefs and dreams. We must continue to do the good work, continue to believe, and continue to dream big. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, next up, we're going to hear from someone who we've spoken a bit about over the past 4 days. Erik kicked it off on Thursday night and told the story of Kyle Maynard and his trip to our summit, his future summit that he did after the last summit and making it up to the top of Kilimanjaro. So we've learned a bit about Kyle, and I don't want to go over his bio, but what I want to say that we haven't learned as much about, that I hope you get a sense of from his words here, is not his physical accomplishments, not the fact that he was an amazing wrestler and he's an amazing climber, but what a wonderful, warm, loving, and giving human being he is. Kyle recently won an ESPY award from ESPN. It was his second one, and they produced this amazing piece about all the good that Kyle is doing in the world. And so I would like to introduce Kyle Maynard. Kyle?
My name is Kyle Maynard. In the next 6 months of my life, going out there and I'm trying to achieve some things that a lot of people would have thought that I'd never be able to do. I know in my heart that I can.
It became really normal, remarkable.
He never stops trying.
And then he won the starting spot his senior year, and he was for real.
I was training for my first fight in mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts is basically no holds barred competition. I was denied by the Georgia State Athletic and Entertainment Commission to go in and compete. This is one of my biggest dreams.
When other people are telling you that you are not good enough, that you cannot do something, that your dreams are too big, that is a lie. You have to go and decide that and confirm that in yourself, though, to believe that now. I mean, life's too short to go and let it slide by, to go and say that I'm just going to go and allow other people to go and dictate what I'm capable of doing.
It was that first moment where I realized what I was doing mattered. It was worth something. It's hard to step back up, to dust the dirt off and keep on going. But that's where you learn, who you are inside. My message is a pretty simple one to understand. I don't believe there are any good excuses that can keep us from living the life that we want to live. And this weekend is proof of that. You see people doing and accomplishing things that never would have dreamed of before. I mean, in achieving things that previously, even a couple of years ago, might have been completely impossible. You heard Erik, too, mention in his video some of the excuses that we could go and make. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too slow, I'm too inexperienced, too disabled, or all that stuff. But it's not just about the physical disability. It's not just about the stuff that we can go and see. I mean, and Dr. Hugh, he mentioned, just the number of people in America that have disabilities. Everyone on the planet has a disability. Every single person. A lot of times, though, we can't see it. You can look at me and you can see that I was born without my arms and legs, but I can't look at you, for every one of you, and see your biggest challenges and what's brought you here to this moment. For some of you, it may be more obvious, but the physical things, we figure out. We figure out how to go and do. It's the more internal, emotional, psychological, bigger things that keep us, kind of held back from just reaching for something more. And I think that the way that we break through that, at least in my own experience and the things I've gotten to experience in my life, it's just to go and ask, why? Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to live a life without excuses? Why would I want to live a life without barriers? Why would I want to go and take on these huge dreams? And there may be different chapters of this why, this purpose in our life. I mean, maybe when we're younger, it's into some type of sport or performance. Academics, we get older, and it's maybe as a parent, spouse, grandparent, business owner, volunteer. But there are so many ways, I believe, when we connect to that, when we go and think about that why, it's just almost a gut level feeling. It's something that comes from within that helps us just move forward through all that stuff. The why question that my mom and dad asked when I was born, it was why can't Kyle lead a normal life? Doctors would say, Kyle, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this, they'd go and say, Kyle may never be able to do much of anything on his own. He may have to have help for everything. He may never be able to live on his own, may never be able to have a job, all this stuff. And they asked that question of why can't Kyle lead a normal life? And had to go through a hard process sometimes to go through and to help me figure out how to do that. Even when I was about 2 years old, figuring out how to go and eat, I used to use a prosthetic spoon that would go and wrap around the end of my arm. And once I figured out how to do that, it was okay, but we'd often leave that at home and go out to eat at a restaurant, a friend's house, and didn't have the spoon there. And so my mom or my grandma would have to feed me. And my dad saw that I was becoming dependent on their help there, and he said, the world's not tailored or set up for Kyle's every need. He's going to have to figure out how to go and do this on his own. Consequently, I had to go through and drop this spoon over and over and over again, hundreds of times, thousands of times maybe. I don't have any real conscious memory of it, but it was there that they held themselves back and didn't jump in to try to help and to coddle, and eventually kind of figured it out. Just the way that I hold the spoon now, just hold it between the ends of my arms and kind of use my right arm to go and swing it around and scoop it up. But it started there with that spoon and then led to now there's not too many adaptations, too many things that look different in my life. Things are pretty simple. If you guys came and spent a day with me at my house in Atlanta, it's 3 stories, live on my own in a 3-story townhouse, and bedrooms up on the top floor. Got a stool to go and get up to the bathroom sink. And in the bedroom, got a normal MacBook, type 50, 60 words per minute, just use the ends of my elbows to hit the keys. Down in the main floor, tool stools to get up to the kitchen countertop to cook, and use a normal pen, pencil to go and write with, hold it between the ends of my arms. And
When I drive a Dodge Durango, it basically just lifted up pedals. And the pedals come up, they're extended kind of underneath the steering wheel. I put the seat up a little bit closer to the wheel. It's a normal steering wheel. I use my left foot to hit the brake, my right foot to hit the gas. And sometimes I really freak my friends out when I answer my cell phone and I'm driving. Or every now and then too, at like a Starbucks or something, I'm turn around too quick to go and pass somebody my credit card and see them like, whoa, freak out, like throw coffee everywhere. But it was something where my life probably would have looked very different had they gone down that path of just focusing on the limitations. And we all have those different challenges. We all have those different things. And there's some things that are completely out of our control. And when I was younger, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't beg and plead, pray, wish, dream, anything I could do that I would just wake up and like have arms and legs. When I was like 10 years old, I'd dream and obsess about that. Now, and I think though, honestly, this is probably the greatest gift that I've ever been given. I wouldn't be here with you guys. I wouldn't be getting to experience things that I am, the people that I've gotten to go and meet without that. But I think we have to go and start looking at these challenges that we're given as those opportunities, as those gifts. And it's as hard as it is sometimes to be able to go and just understand that there is purpose even within that. And just to change us and to guide us and to shape us. What pulled me out of that mindset too of being the 10-year-old who was really wishing that things were different was I was in 6th grade, I signed up and I got to go and play football. And what changed everything was just going out and making my first tackle. It was, I was convinced after the tryouts were done that, first day, coach is going to go and put me as a quarterback on the team. And sure enough, he goes and he tells me to go and line up as a nose guard, defensive line. So I'm, lined up there, down on all fours, the center's across from me. He has no idea how to go and block me, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I figured I got to go and follow the ball. He snaps the ball between his legs. I dive underneath his legs and smash my helmet at the quarterback's shins, and first play I got the sack. Came back that night. My dad had been out of town on a business trip, and I called him up, and I was like, you know what? I think we're done with this youth football stuff. We're going right to the NFL now. But a lot of things, too, as everyone in here knows, things worth having in life, they don't come easy, they don't come natural, they don't come quick. It is the hardest things that you face, the biggest challenges that have shaped your character, that have brought you here. And those things, we're kind of forged in that crucible. And through that, when we're in the middle of the storm, sometimes we're wishing that things were different. But I think that those things, those adversities, those challenges, if we can start to go and see them as such, those are huge gifts too. When I was younger, my first sport, I came out of playing football, and it was like, I'm going to go and do anything that, anything. I can, any sport that I'm going to go and take on, baseball or swimming, whatever it was. My dad convinced me to come out and try wrestling practice. Started wrestling and lifting weights the same year. In wrestling, I couldn't emulate the moves that the other people were doing, so I lost a lot, over and over and over and over again. 6th grade, lost every single match. Started lifting weights that same year. In 6th grade, I was lifting with 2.5 pounds on each arm, tiny amount of weight. I was embarrassed at how light the weight was in the gym, but seeing other people in the gym, other high school kids, older than me, but they're bench pressing 200 pounds, thinking I'll never be able to do that. And, later on, too, even going as far as not just the self-doubt within myself, but experiencing some people, hey, you saw in the video, one of my dreams was to go in and have a fight in mixed martial arts. People said, this is ridiculous, Kyle. It's crossed the line now. He's going to be the first televised death in the sport. He's going to, terrible thing. It was like, reading comments about how I'm going to be, 20 seconds, they're going to go and turn on Good Morning America and see me bloody and unconscious in the cage, and that somebody even said something, behind anonymous internet screen names, come take a chainsaw and cut off my arms and legs so I can get on TV like Kyle. In wrestling, like I said, I lost every match that first season. I was ready to quit. I was ready to go and hang it up. And the thing that changed in me was my dad. He sat me down and he had this conversation with me, and he said, I knew that he'd been a successful collegiate wrestler, and he said, I want you to know something that I've never told you. He said, I didn't win a single match my first year. He said, nobody hardly ever wins a match their first year in wrestling. He said, it's very rare, but he said, almost everybody wins a match their second year because you're going to catch somebody that's their first year and you're going to beat them. And so it was his way. That's how he got me. He convinced me to go and sign up. If you sign up, then you'll be able to do it this year. So I signed up in 7th grade, and I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And halfway through that year, I'd still not won a match. And 35 matches in a row I'd lost. And I found out later when I was interviewing my grandpa, my dad's dad, for my book, that whole story about him not winning a match was a complete lie. But that year of power suggestion, like, I did win that first match. And I remember taking the kid down and being more shocked than he was, landing on top of him. But after that first one that I won, it was like, okay, things kept rolling. And in the weightlifting, kept getting stronger and stronger. I had ropes tied around my arms, broke those ropes, got chains, broke those chains and got bigger ones. Wrestling went from 0-35 when I started the senior year in high school, got to win 36 varsity matches, placed top 12 in the nation my senior year, my weight class. And weightlifting went from a 5-pound bench press when I first started to end up having a bench press of 420 pounds, my personal best. That's I appreciate the applause, but not something I recommend doing. I couldn't move my left arm for about a week after that. So I'm like losing an arm, a leg, a hand. There's a lot of stuff in that. But it's, like I said, not everything does come easy at first. And when we do break through, we have those moments where we find ourselves, we're living in that dream that we had created, that dream that we had envisioned and set out, and then we can go and look around, and all the other detractors, all the other doubt, all the other people that said that we'd never be able to go and make it, all that stuff doesn't matter anymore. That experience, I got to have that perspective, sitting in the cage and looking out. All the people that said Kyle would get killed in mixed martial arts, well, they'd be too afraid to step in and to try it themselves. I don't want to do something in my life where I find it easier to go and criticize somebody else. I want to do something that is worthy of that criticism. And in effect, I think that what this mission, what this Stone Barriers organization is all about, is just having a dream that helps you get out of bed in the morning. It's a dream that helps get you outside. It's a dream that helps get you over that boulder. It's a dream that just comes from within. It's hard to even put into words. And just for that purpose, just to experience it. And then from all those experiences that we have, we can go and use those learnings to go and help other people, to go on and show other people that their dreams too are possible. That's what me and one of my closest friends, Dan, who's here with me, we got to go and experience the first time that we came out to No Barriers in 2011. I'm sure many of you got to hear Erik tell the story of us climbing with him, and our technology was a little less advanced than Dr. Hugh Herr was talking about here. Using towels that would go and wrap around my arms and my feet, and basically packing tape, duct taped everything together. And we ended up, Dan and I would sit before every hike that we would go and do, and it would take sometimes 2 or 3 hours of Dan sitting there and ripping up duct tape to go and try to get my gear set up to go and hike. So before we took on Kilimanjaro, I actually had, only in my life, my entire life, I had hiked about 12 times, and most of those were on like 900-foot Stone Mountain in Georgia. And now we're sitting there in Africa and looking up at, this is the highest mountain in Africa, and just standing, towering above the clouds. And I was thinking in my head, like, what did I get myself into? And one of the reasons why we were there is we wanted to go and send a message to some of our heroes. And my dad had been in the Army. I'd always had, my whole life I had dreamed of serving. Sometimes when me and my friends travel and we'll go up and visit some of the veterans that were the more recent amputees, especially the arm amputees in some of the hospitals. And come in the hospital room, and it's less of like a speaking role, more of just kind of hanging out. And I'll time it so that maybe 15 minutes into a conversation, my iPhone, somebody will send me a text message, and my iPhone will go off. And I'll just pull my phone out of my pocket and type a text back, and then pop my phone back in the pocket. And you see some of them kind of light up and go and say, like, whoa, wait a second. Like, how'd you do that? But it's cool because it opens this dialogue to go and say, with your injury, with the wound back, or whatever you've got going on right now, like, you might not be able to go and do this, but that you will be able to down the road. And with Dan and with Erik, with No Barriers, with our guide that Erik had introduced us to, Kevin Shurna, and the rest of our teammates, that was like our big dream and vision, was to go and show people that it's not so much the circumstance that happens to you. It's about creating the life that you want, regardless. And that applies, I believe, to every single person in here, as long as we see ourselves in that role of being a creator as opposed to a victim to circumstance. But it didn't make it easy. So we're taking off, and we're down there. We're the first couple of days with some of my best friends, and I left my wheelchair back at the lodge, and so it was just down on all fours doing the bear crawl. And I'd upgraded my gear from towels and duct tape, so carbon fiber in the ends of my arms and my feet. It was casted around and padded on the inside, had a Vibram hiking shoe sole on the outside, and fitted for ice spikes once we got up higher in case we needed those. And so we're walking, and it was about 6 or 7 hours per day down on all fours. And I had never in my life traveled more than about 3 miles outside of my wheelchair. And now we're looking at this 38-mile trail. And we kept going, though, and we're laughing, joking, having a good time. But by the third day, just because walking down on my elbows and my feet, like my arms started to swell up inside the gear. Became a little bit more painful. Nobody told me that I wasn't supposed to walk on my elbows for 38 miles. And it was, by the fourth day, though, we had planned on going 2 days and taking a rest day, going 2 days and taking a rest day. And our good friend and guide, Kevin Shurna, who many of you guys know, he's a very amazing mountain guide, but a little bit of a maniac, and kept pushing us. We did 4 straight days. So by the 4th straight day, it was like my body was beat up. And that whole day I'm sitting there and I'm just, going and thinking, imagining, like, what's the rest of this trip going to go look like? I'd blast my headphones to try to think about anything but how bad it was hurting. And my friends that I was laughing and joking with before, I to them, I was like, you can go and hike ahead. I don't want to, like, even be around anybody that's, like, happy right now. So they're, I told them, it was like, just want to be alone. And it was, I was thinking, I was like, if I'm in this much pain right now, what's day 9 going to look like? What's day 12 going to look like? Day 15. We thought it was going to take 15 days to reach the summit. And on the 4th day, we pulled into a campground. It's called the Shurna Plateau. So it's standing about 12,000 feet above the tree line. So you cross through and it's this wide open plain. And you can see the summit, but it's still so far away. We pulled in this campground, and my friends made it about 20 minutes before I did. There were people in there that wanted to, they were meeting with them and talking. There was about 100 other people at this campground. First time that we could interact with other people on the campground. Dan and some of the other folks, they were like having fun talking to other people and sharing our story, what we were doing there. And so I pulled into camp, and they were wanting to introduce me to people and take pictures and stuff like that. And for about 10 minutes, I tried to fake it. I tried to fake that I was happy. I tried to smile. I couldn't stomach it. I told them, I was like, I just need to be left alone. And I went and walked into my tent, and I hear them laughing and joking outside, and they're having a good time of their lives. And I came in my tent, and I laid down. For about an hour, I cried. I laid there crying, and I was thinking, man, this probably isn't going to provide too much hope for my heroes laying in a hospital bed right now if Kyle can't even make it a third of the way up this mountain. And then I really started crying when I started thinking about the fact that I was going to have to come home and tell a mom named Vicky that I had broken a promise. And this promise had been I'd made to her in a gym in Arizona where Dan and I just happened to be working out before we left for a trip. And met this lady who 5 months before had lost her son in Afghanistan. He'd been a Marine that had saved several other Marines before he had been killed in combat. He had a wife, 3 daughters, and she was telling me her son's story, and he had this passion to travel and see the world, and he always talked about climbing Kilimanjaro. And out of the blue, she asked me there in this gym, she looked me in the eye and she said, would you promise to bring Corey's ashes to the summit? And I didn't know what to say. I looked back at her and I told her, yeah, I will. I promise I will. And I'm sitting there laying in that tent thinking there's absolutely no way I'm going to come back and tell her that I broke this promise. And I can't tell you what changed in that moment there, but it was all of a sudden, it was like the decision became a lot easier because the decision was no longer a decision. I wouldn't stop. And it was, we got together as a team and we looked at our alternatives and what we could go and do. And we looked and instead of coming down through 3 valleys, which would have added 12 miles on the total trip time and up the eastern side of the mountain, we could basically head straight up the western side, a route called the Western Breach. And the trade-off is in one day, I have to pass through approximately 2,500 or so feet of ice and snow and boulders. And we looked at that and looked at the alternative of going down through the valleys and figured that was going to be our best chance to go and do this. So we decided to take off, and our 8th day, we camped at the base of the Western Breach, about 16,000 feet or so. And we're looking up, and in one day we have to pass up to about 18,500 feet in one push. The 9th morning we went and took off. It was 2 a.m. when we woke up, 3 a.m. when we started climbing, because you want that ice to be most frozen against the ground so these giant boulders wouldn't roll off. And I was in the lead. Our head African guide, God Leeson, he was ahead of me, and Kevin, our American guide, behind me. And basically my strategy was, in the mountain climbing world, you have to have 3 points of contact down at all times. And I was already breaking the rule because I had ice spikes fitted for my arms and my feet, but the right arm ice spike wasn't working. We're crossing these ice fields, and so my right arm was basically effectively useless. And so as we're going along, some of these ice fields would span on for hundreds of feet, and I could only see off my headlamp that was just shining. So it was a couple feet in front of you. So that psychological warfare is you have no idea how long these things last for. And I would try to get firm footing and just with every step, just punch into the ice and get my firm footing before we'd go on and step in there and punch into the ice, step through this field and punch into the ice. About halfway through this first big field, I got really tired and my arm was, shoulder was worked, and I didn't punch into the ice hard enough, and this ice spike slid out from underneath me, went belly down on this sheet of ice and slid several feet in a second. Kevin went and jumped on me, bear hugged me, probably saved my life. My heart rate was jacked through the roof. I'm sitting still in this ice field. It was too dangerous to go and stop there. And the just mantra that just popped into my head and immediately went back and reverted to, I just kept repeating this thing over and over and over again, was I heard from a friend of mine who's Navy SEAL. The mantra was, not dead, can't quit. And I just kept repeating this, not dead, can't quit. And then I'd ask myself periodically, are you dead? Nope. All right, can't quit. I don't know how many times, it's probably 1,000 times I repeated that to myself that day. And the most amazing thing happened, though, when the sun came up, and it lit the entire trail that we had come up. So now we're sitting on these ice fields and looking back at this rainforest that we had started off. And these trees before, were 2-3 times higher than this ceiling here. They just towered. And now they were so far back. And I think culturally sometimes we try to focus on getting to the summit. And we get off the mountain and we try to get to the next mountain and try to get to the next summit. I don't think we look back enough to go and see how far we came to go and get here now. And that gave us that extra boost to just keep going and push through the rest of the top. So we made it through the Western Breach in about 12 hours and slept at 18,500 feet, and even 3 to a tent. You wake up and there's still a layer of ice on top of your sleeping bag, freezing cold, and had another 900 feet left to go before we went and reached the summit, so just one stone mountain left. And it was about waist-deep snow, more like neck-deep snow for me that day, but in a 2-hour push at 7:15 a.m., January 15th, 2012, together as a team, every one of us got to go up there and touch the roof of Africa and sitting above the clouds. We made it about 45 minutes before any other group summited, so we had that time to be able to pay tribute to Corey. And, I really thought that just making that summit experience, that was going to be after that, it was, it was kind of going to be over, that was going to be the big payoff. And it was an amazing thing. Sitting up there above the clouds, it was beautiful, but we came back down. It took us 2.5 days to go and come back down, and hadn't showered for 12.5 days, so that was pretty awesome. And the next morning, though, we woke up and we got to go and visit a school for kids with disabilities in Africa. I'm sure many of you are aware that if you're born with a disability in a developing country, then a lot of times you're cast out of your families, you can't help with the subsistence culture, and you're viewed as a curse sometimes. At the school that we went and visited, there were about 80 blind students and about 25 albino students that had been orphaned. And when they actually were given Braille writers and Braille books and things, they were actually outperforming the kids without the disabilities. And there were 600 kids total in the school. And we were there together, and I got to go and talk to the kids, and it was translated.
through their headmaster in Swahili. And so I'm talking to them. They're about 10 years old, so I'm telling them about climbing this big mountain in their backyard, and they were really excited. And they just, on their own, I didn't prompt them to go and do this. They started chanting something over and over and over again. And they were chanting in Swahili, so I had no idea what they were chanting. So I asked their headmaster, like, what are they chanting? What are they chanting? And they didn't start chanting in English. What they were chanting was, anything is possible, anything is possible, anything is possible. I sat there and I thought about that, and I thought, I don't know if it would have been possible for me if it hadn't been for everybody in my life that helped me in that moment. For my best friends, for Erik, No Barriers, for Dan, for my parents, for everyone there, and even in that darkest moment, and finding Corey, and having him there, and that fourth day when I'm sitting there laying and having my pity party, about to go and quit, and think, he became in that moment my why I was there. I don't think any of us can reach our potential if we do not know why we are here. I challenge you. Find your why. Find your why. Find your truth, and realize then anything really is possible. Thank you guys very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adrian and Antoine back to the stage for one final performance. Well, we're just about at the end here, and it's sad to say that. I know it's been an extraordinary 4 days. I had one announcement I forgot to make at the outset was, in addition to maybe going on the website and making your $5 or $500 donation, if you could go on the website and give us your feedback on this year's summit. There's an evaluation there. We'll also email it to you, but we really want to improve this experience year after year, so please give us your feedback. When I look back at the past 4 days, a lot's happened. So I'd like you to clap twice if at some point in the past 4 days you were inspired. Okay. Clap twice if at some point in the last few days you met someone new that you made a connection with. All right, that's good to hear. How about, can you clap twice if at some point you were wet? And finally, can you clap twice if you feel like you understand and you want to embrace the no barriers mindset? Okay, so this is some good synergy in how we're feeling. I think the tough part's next. So, here we are in this wonderful community. We walk outside in extraordinary surroundings. We have incredible people all around us. And we go back to our daily lives at the end of today, maybe tomorrow, maybe later this week, depending on how long you're staying. And we're going to be bombarded with everything that life throws at us, right? And so we're going to have this energy that's built up here in this warm and welcoming community. And then we have to find a way to keep that fire that's been ignited here in Telluride, keep it going, right? That's going to be tough. But what I want to say is that No Barriers does not live here in Telluride, though we have loved it here. We do not live in Fort Collins, Colorado, though that is where our offices are. No Barriers lives inside of you. And it lives inside of the person sitting next to you, and it lives inside of me. And what I want you to do is when you are back home and at some point that fire that's been ignited here is fading, I really hope that you can come to our community to reignite it. We want to be there with you in the lowest times and in the highest times. And so when that fire is raging bright and you are achieving all of your greatest dreams, we would love for you to, maybe fly your No Barriers flag and remember that moment and share it with us, because at No Barriers we want to be a part of the greatest successes and the greatest failures and try and be a support. And we want that to be you all supporting each other. And so what I hope for everyone here today is that we leave here with a commitment to live a life of purpose and to rely on each other as we go about doing it. Because I truly believe that No Barriers and this philosophy of life has the power to change the world. Thank you so much for joining us.